Rick Ross doesn't just rap about wealth. He lives it on a scale few artists ever reach. With an estimated net worth of $150 million in 2026, sprawling estates across Georgia and Florida, and a car collection that reportedly tops 100 vehicles, the man-born William Leonard Roberts II has built an empire far beyond music. But how did he turn mixtapes into mansions? Where did the real money come from? And what does life actually look like inside his legendary Georgia estate known as the Promised Land? From private jets and mega mansions to business ventures that quietly multiplied his fortune, today we're stepping inside Rick Ross's world, exploring the estate, the empire, and the lifestyle that turned a rapper into a powerhouse mogul. Rick Ross. Net worth, 2026. How the rapper built $150 million. Rick Ross didn't just build a music career, he built a financial empire. As of 2026, the Miami-born rapper, songwriter, entrepreneur, and record executive has an estimated net worth of $150 million. Over the years, he has sold millions of albums and tens of millions of singles worldwide, and at several points in his career, he ranked among the 10 highest-paid rappers on the planet. His total earnings from music alone have surpassed $90 million, and that figure doesn't even include his real estate holdings, business ventures, or record label profits. His rise began in 2006 with the release of Port of Miami, an album that debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 and immediately established him as a major force in hip-hop. With his unmistakable deep voice and cinematic storytelling style, Ross carved out a brand centered on luxury, ambition, and larger-than-life success. He followed that breakthrough with a string of chart-topping albums including Trilla, Deeper Than Rap, Teflon Don, and God Forgives, I Don't, each reinforcing his image as rap's ultimate boss. But music was only the foundation. Behind the scenes, Ross was making strategic moves. He founded Maybach Music Group, MMG, launching the careers of artists like Meek Mill and Whale, turning his label into a profitable extension of his brand. Beyond the studio, he invested heavily in business, most notably owning multiple Wingstop franchises, along with other ventures that quietly expanded his fortune year after year. Over the course of his career, he has earned more than $90 million from music sales and touring alone, a figure that only tells part of the story. The real expansion of his empire can be seen in his investments, especially in real estate. In 2014, Ross made headlines when he purchased former heavyweight boxing champion Evander Holyfield's massive suburban Atlanta estate for $6 million. The property was already legendary, but Ross turned it into something even bigger. The mansion features an astonishing 190 rooms and sits on 235 acres of land. At 54,000 square feet, it is officially the largest private mansion in the state of Georgia. Then, in 2020, he expanded the compound by acquiring an additional 87 acres next door, bringing the total size of his Atlanta property to a staggering 322 acres. It's more than a home. It's a kingdom, now famously known as the Promised Land. Born William Leonard Roberts II on January 28, 1976 in Clarksdale, Mississippi, Ross was raised in Carroll City, Florida. After graduating from Miami Carroll City Senior High School, he attended Albany State University on a football scholarship, showing early signs of discipline and ambition. Before fame, however, his path took an unexpected turn. From December 1995 to June 1997, he worked as a correctional officer, a chapter of his life that would later spark controversy once his rap persona took shape. Initially performing under the name Teflon Don, he later adopted the stage name Rick Ross in the mid-2000s, inspired by the infamous drug figure Freeway Rick Ross. His breakthrough came in 2006 with the release of the single Hustlin', a street anthem that ignited a bidding war between major labels. Offers came from Diddy's Bad Boy Entertainment and Irv Gotti's Murder Inc., But Ross ultimately signed a lucrative deal with Jay-Z's Def Jam Recordings. That same year, his debut album, Port of Miami, debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200. He followed it with Trilla in 2008, which also entered the charts at #1. In 2009, he founded Maybach Music Group, solidifying his role not just as an artist, but as a music executive. Over the next decade, he released a string of successful albums including Deeper Than Rap, Teflon Don, God Forgives, I Don't, Mastermind, Hood Billionaire, Black Market, Rather You Than Me, Port of Miami 2, and Richer Than I Ever Been. In 2012, MTV named him the hottest MC in the game, confirming his dominance in hip-hop at the time. Beyond music, he expanded his brand into business partnerships, becoming the first artist signed to Diddy's management company, Cyrock Entertainment. He even showed a lighter side of his personality with an appearance on VH1's Snoop and Martha's Potluck Dinner Party, cooking alongside Martha Stewart, proof that his reach extended far beyond rap. Inside rapper Rick Ross's houses, including his storied Georgia mega mansion. Fans know that Rick Ross's Georgia mansion is almost as legendary as the rapper himself. The sprawling Fayetteville estate, once owned by heavyweight boxing champion Evander Holyfield, was originally called Villa Vittoriosa. Today, Ross has renamed it the Promised Land, a title that reflects both ambition and arrival. The massive property has hosted extravagant pool parties, luxury car showcases, and even served as a filming location for movies and music videos. But as impressive as it is, this mega mansion is only part of his real estate empire. Long before he owned hundreds of acres, Ross received practical financial advice from someone he trusted most, his mother. In a 2021 interview with Forbes, Ross, born William Leonard Roberts II, explained that his mother, a hard-working registered nurse who often held 2 or 3 jobs at once, believed strongly in real estate as a path to long-term security. Her philosophy was simple and direct. When you buy something, make sure you can touch it. Tangible assets mattered. Property meant stability. That lesson stayed with him. Ross took that advice seriously. Over the past decade, he has steadily acquired high-value properties, treating real estate not just as a symbol of wealth, but as a foundation for it. He doesn't just buy houses, he customizes them, expands them, and transforms them into reflections of his larger-than-life persona. When Ross released his debut album Port of Miami in 2006, he was still living in Florida, where he had grown up after being born in Mississippi. But before dropping his second album, Trilla, he relocated to Georgia and purchased a home not far from Holyfield's famed Fayetteville compound. Details about that first Georgia property remain limited, but Ross once revealed that he bought it partly because of its proximity to Holyfield's estate. He would regularly drive past the massive mansion, studying every detail, the curves of the driveway, the slopes of the lawn, even the geese roaming the grounds. For years, he passed by that property, imagining what it would be like to own it. Then one day, he noticed a red "For Sale" sign at the gate. Without hesitation, he made a U-turn. Rick Ross didn't hesitate when Evander Holyfield's Fayetteville estate hit the market. He moved quickly and secured the massive property for $5.8 million. A few years later, he expanded it even further, purchasing an additional 87 acres next door for $1 million. What was already an extraordinary compound became something even more impressive, a 322-acre kingdom he proudly renamed the Promised Land. Originally built in 1994, the main mansion spans roughly 45,000 square feet and includes 109 rooms, with 12 bedrooms and 21 bathrooms. The dining room alone can seat 100 guests, and outside sits a staggering 350,000-gallon swimming pool designed for large-scale entertaining. Every summer, Ross opens the gates for his now famous car show and pool party, inviting the public to experience the estate firsthand. The mansion's grand white stone exterior and dramatic interior made it cinematic enough to serve as the fictional Zamunda Palace in Coming to America, starring Eddie Murphy. Despite the scale of the property, Ross takes pride in maintaining it personally. He has even spoken about mowing parts of the lawn himself, using a fully enclosed tractor equipped with air conditioning and a radio. For him, it's a way to connect with the land. The estate is also home to livestock, including buffaloes, horses, and a bull, though the buffaloes have reportedly sparked occasional complaints from neighbors. Georgia isn't his only stronghold. A few years later, while searching for property in South Florida with help from his mother and sister, Ross came across a luxury estate in Southwest Ranches. Trusting his mother's instincts, he purchased the 2.3-acre property for $3.5 million in cash. The home, previously owned by NBA All-Star Amare Stoudemire, spans 8,600 square feet with 6 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, a theater, gym, 2 offices, and a resort-style pool with a waterfall. He still owns the property today. In early 2023, Ross revealed he had expanded into Houston, paying $3.5 million for another estate. Sharing glimpses online under the nickname Rodeo Rick, he showcased the enormous pool, palm-lined grounds, and custom gates featuring his initials. Not long after, he purchased an Atlanta-area mansion from fellow rapper Meek Mill for $4.2 million in cash. The 3-story home includes 8 bedrooms, 9.5 bathrooms, a tennis court, sauna, media room, and pool. Then came perhaps his most high-profile acquisition yet. Ross invested $37 million in a waterfront mansion on Miami's ultra-exclusive Star Island, a private, guard-gated enclave with just 30 residences. The 12,374-square-foot home features 6 bedrooms, 8.5 bathrooms, a bay-facing primary suite, expansive outdoor entertainment areas, and a 40-foot dock providing direct access to the ocean. From sprawling farmland in Georgia to elite waterfront property in Miami, Rick Ross hasn't just built wealth. He's built an empire of tangible assets that reflect his larger-than-life vision. A look at Rick Ross's massive luxury car collection. Behind the gates of his Georgia estate, known as the Promised Land, sits a collection that feels less like a hobby and more like a personal museum of horsepower. Ross doesn't just own cars, he collects statements. And with more than 100 vehicles under his name, the fleet is easily worth somewhere between $10 and $15 million, possibly more depending on customization. Every summer, he opens his property to the public for the now famous Rick Ross Car Show. Thousands pour into Fayetteville to witness the spectacle. Engines roar, candy paint gleams under the sun, and chrome rims sparkle like jewelry. Some local residents worry about traffic and congestion, and authorities deploy heavy police presence to keep things under control. But once those garage doors open, it's hard not to understand the fascination. The crown jewels of his collection are the Rolls-Royces. Ross has long treated the brand as a symbol of arrival. His Rolls-Royce Phantom, which starts around $460,000, sits like royalty on the driveway. Nearby, a Rolls-Royce Dawn convertible, worth roughly $350,000, reflects Georgia sunlight across its polished body. Then there's the custom matte-finished Rolls, likely pushing well beyond $500,000 once bespoke details are factored in. For Ross, these aren't just cars, they're milestones. But what makes his collection different is his love for American classics. Ross has a deep affection for vintage Chevrolets, especially the iconic 1950s models. A restored 1957 Chevy Bel Air, valued anywhere from $80,000 to over $150,000, looks like it rolled straight out of a time capsule. A sky blue 1955 Bel Air gleams with a finish so clean it almost feels unreal. His 1959 El Camino and custom Chevelle SS bring 70s muscle energy into the mix, while his lowrider Chevy Impalas, some heavily modified, can range from $30,000 to over $200,000, depending on build quality. One polished custom '57 Renzel Chevy is rumored to be worth well into six figures alone. Then there are the modern machines. A Mercedes Maybach, priced around $200,000, offers executive-level comfort. A red Mercedes luxury truck adds bold color to the lineup. Even a Tesla Cybertruck, valued between $60,000 and $100,000, sits among the classics, futuristic steel beside mid-century chrome. He even owns a fully customized monster truck, reportedly worth over $250,000, because for Rick Ross, subtle has never been the goal. Ironically, despite owning over 100 cars, Ross didn't get his driver's license until he was 45. The collection was never just about driving. It was about building, about being able to walk into a space filled with tangible proof of success. He once said that while others were chasing digital coins, he was buying real estate and assets he could touch. His cars follow that same philosophy. Private jet. In June 2023, Rick Ross gave fans another glimpse into just how far he's come. He posted on Instagram announcing his newest acquisition, a private jet. Not long after, aviation enthusiasts traced the aircraft's tail number and identified it as a 2012 Gulfstream G550. These jets typically sell anywhere between $10 million and $40 million, depending on condition and upgrades. Reports suggest Ross secured his for around $19.5 million in April 2023 through an LLC appropriately named Maybach Air. For someone who once worked 18 months as a correctional officer in the mid-1990s, owning a Gulfstream is more than a luxury purchase. It's a full-circle moment. Ross has often spoken about transformation, about leveling up in every aspect of life. Inside Rick Ross's $10 million watch and jewelry collection. When it comes to luxury, Rick Ross doesn't whisper. He announces it in diamonds, gold, and Swiss engineering. Step inside his world and you'll quickly realize that watches aren't just accessories for Ross. They're statements of power. Over the years, he has been seen wearing some of the most coveted timepieces in the world. One of the crown jewels of his collection is the Rolex Day-Date President, a watch that typically ranges from $40,000 to $100,000, depending on materials and customization. But Ross rarely leaves things standard. His pieces are often factory diamond set or fully iced out, pushing values well into six figures. Then there's the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore, a favorite among elite collectors. Standard models start around $35,000, but fully customized diamond versions like the ones Ross favors can easily reach $150,000 to $300,000. He has also been spotted wearing a Patek Philippe Nautilus, one of the most in-demand watches in the world, with prices typically ranging from $120,000 to over $250,000 on the secondary market. And that's just the wrist. Ross's jewelry collection is on another level entirely. His chains alone are worth fortunes. Custom Maybach Music Group pendants, layered Cuban link chains, and oversized medallions are often valued between $200,000 and $1 million each, depending on diamond clarity and weight. One of his most talked-about pieces is a massive diamond chain reportedly weighing several pounds, easily worth $1 to $2 million. His jewelry isn't subtle. It's designed to reflect light from across the room. Even his rings and bracelets come heavy. Fully flooded diamond Rolex bracelets and custom bangles can range from $50,000 to $250,000 apiece. When Ross stacks pieces together, he's sometimes wearing several $1 million at once, just for dinner. Then there's the wardrobe. Rick Ross's clothing reflects the same philosophy as his cars and real estate. Go big. He frequently wears luxury brands like Louis Vuitton, Gucci, and Hermes. A typical Louis Vuitton jacket can run $3,000 to $6,000, while Hermes leather pieces often exceed $10,000. His sneaker collection includes rare Air Jordans and designer collaborations valued at $1,000 to $5,000 per pair, though some limited editions can climb much higher. And of course, fur coats. Ross has long embraced extravagant fur outerwear, with high-end custom mink coats often costing anywhere from $20,000 to over $100,000 depending on craftsmanship and material. What makes his style different isn't just the price tags, it's the consistency. Whether he's hosting a car show at the Promised Land, boarding his $19.5 million Gulfstream G550, or performing on stage, Rick Ross dresses like a man who built his empire from the ground up. Rick Ross's relationship history, from Lastonia Leviston to Tia Kemp and beyond. Rick Ross has built a reputation as a boss in music, founder of Maybach Music Group, multiple Billboard hits, and decades of dominance in hip-hop. But while his business moves are calculated, his love life has often been far more complicated. Over the years, Ross has found himself in high-profile relationships, public custody disputes, and even controversy involving some of the mothers of his children. One of the earliest relationships in Rick Ross's history was with Lastonia Leviston. The two dated from around 2000 to 2003 and welcomed a daughter, Toy, in 2002. Though their relationship ended shortly after, Lastonia's name resurfaced in headlines years later during Ross's feud with 50 Cent. In 2009, an explicit tape involving Lastonia and her former partner Maurice Murray was publicly released amid the rivalry. Lastonia later spoke about how deeply the incident affected her, saying it left her feeling suicidal. She sued 50 Cent and was ultimately awarded $5 million in damages. Shortly after that chapter, Ross began a relationship with Tia Kemp around 2003. Their romance lasted until 2005, the same year their son, William Roberts III, was born. Tia and Rick's split led to a long and public custody battle. In recent years, Tia has spoken openly about co-parenting challenges, particularly regarding financial support as their son pursued college football. Their ongoing tension has occasionally played out publicly on social media. In 2015, Ross entered a whirlwind romance with model and Fashion Nova ambassador Lyra Galore. The relationship moved quickly, and the two became engaged within months. However, by the end of the year, the engagement was called off. In 2016, Lyra described the relationship as toxic during an appearance on Iyanla. Fix My Life, hinting at emotional turbulence behind the scenes. Following that split, Ross began dating Brianna Camille, a realtor based in Florida and Georgia. Their relationship, which lasted from around 2016 to 2019, was more substantial. Together they welcomed 3 children, Berkeley in 2017, Billion in 2018, and Bliss in 2020. However, by the time their 3rd child was born, the couple had already separated. In 2020, Brianna filed a lawsuit seeking child support, adding another legal dispute to Ross's relationship history. More recently, Ross was linked to comedian and author Pretty V between 2022 and 2023. Though the relationship appeared more low-key at first, fans speculated about tension after subtle social media posts hinted at a breakup. After that, he was rumored to be involved with Christina Mackey, significantly younger than him, as well as Justice Williams, though neither relationship appears to have lasted. At the moment, Rick Ross seems to be single. But if his past is any indication, his romantic life tends to evolve as quickly as his business ventures. Legal issues. Rick Ross's rise to fame has been massive, but it hasn't come without controversy. In January 2008, he was arrested in Miami on gun and marijuana charges. During a later deposition, a Miami Beach police officer explained that the case had been assigned to a gang task force because Ross had allegedly claimed ties to Triple C's, also known as the Carroll City Cartel. When pressed for proof of a direct connection, the officer did not provide concrete evidence, but the incident added fuel to public scrutiny surrounding Ross's image and affiliations. That same year, in August 2008, YouTube personality DJ Vlad filed a lawsuit against Ross for assault and battery. Vlad alleged that Ross orchestrated an attack on him at the Ozone Awards in Houston after being questioned about his past employment as a correctional officer. The case became another headline-grabbing moment during a period when Ross was still cementing his reputation in hip-hop. Perhaps the most high-profile legal battle came in 2010, when former drug kingpin Freeway Ricky Ross sued him for using the name Rick Ross. The lawsuit, filed in federal court, sought $10 million in damages and attempted to block the release of Ross's album Teflon Don. At the time, Jay-Z, who was CEO of Def Jam when Ross signed, was even called to testify. Rick Ross publicly brushed off the case, comparing lawsuits to minor setbacks in business. The federal case was dismissed, later refiled in California state court, and after years of back-and-forth legal proceedings, a judge ultimately ruled in 2013 that the rapper could continue using the name under First Amendment protections. Legal issues continued over the years. In March 2011, Ross was arrested in Louisiana after police reported smelling marijuana in his hotel room. In 2014, he was arrested in North Carolina related to a prior marijuana possession warrant. One of the most serious incidents occurred in June 2015, when Ross and a bodyguard were arrested in Georgia on kidnapping and assault charges involving a landscaper. Prosecutors alleged the man had been assaulted over money he owed. In 2017, Ross entered a no-contest plea to a felony count of aggravated assault. Other felony charges were dropped. He received credit for time served, paid a $10,000 fine, and was sentenced to probation. As a first-time felony offender under Georgia law, the conviction was later cleared from his record upon completion of the terms. Feud with 50 Cent. One of the most intense chapters in Rick Ross's career came not from sales numbers or album drops, but from one of hip-hop's most notorious rivalries. In the late 2000s, tensions flared between Ross and 50 Cent, and what started with a cold look at an awards show quickly snowballed into a full-blown beef that would define both of their public personas for years. The story goes that at the 2008 BET Hip Hop Awards, Ross felt disrespected by 50 Cent, a moment that either happened or was exaggerated in the retelling, and the seed for conflict was planted. When Ross's track Mafia Music leaked online in January 2009, it included lines that seemed aimed directly at 50, sparking an immediate response. 50 Cent answered quickly with his own salvo in the form of the diss song, Officer Ricky, Go Head, Try Me, where he mocked Ross's past as a corrections officer and attacked his credibility in ruthless fashion. He backed the track with videos, animated Officer Ricky cartoons, and even a YouTube clip titled Warning Shot, in which he bluntly warned, Rick Ross, I'ma fuck your life up for fun. The feud didn't stay confined to music. 50 Cent took his rebuttal a step further by posting an interview with Tia, the mother of one of Ross's children, on YouTube. In the clip, she confirmed that Ross had once worked as a correctional officer, a detail 50 Cent repeatedly used to undermine his opponent's authenticity. Other artists got pulled into the drama too. Around the same time, The Game, already at odds with 50 Cent himself, weighed in on Seattle radio, supporting 50 and suggesting Ross was out of his depth. Ross fired back with his own diss tracks. On his album Deeper Than Rap, he dropped In Cold Blood, complete with a video that depicted a mock funeral for 50 Cent, boldly claiming he had ended his rival's career. He followed it with another track, Push 'Em Over the Edge, escalating the lyrical battle. 50 Cent, in turn, continued firing back with responses like, Tia Told Me, and crews from his camp dropped tracks like Officer Down and Somebody Snitched. The insults weren't just musical. 50 Cent once compared Ross to Albert from the comedy CB4, poking fun at his persona and background, saying, It never gets worse than this, and calling out Ross's transition from corrections officer to rapper as inauthentic. Even years later, the feud would resurface in public ways. In 2013, 50 Cent claimed on Twitter that a drive-by shooting Ross experienced around his birthday was staged, reigniting speculation and media attention. By 2014, Ross publicly stated he was done with the feud and didn't want to speak on it anymore. Yet the rivalry never fully disappeared, resurfacing now and then, especially when artists like Meek Mill, signed to Ross's Maybach music group, took shots at 50 Cent in their own music. From chart-topping albums to courtroom battles, luxury jets to headline-making feuds, Rick Ross has built a life that's as controversial as it is extravagant. Whether you see him as a master businessman, a polarizing figure, or a self-made mogul who turned setbacks into leverage, one thing is undeniable. He knows how to stay relevant and larger than life. But here's the real question. Do you think Rick Ross's empire is more impressive because of the obstacles he's faced, or despite them? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay tuned.